Anesthesiologists, what are the best things people have said under the gas? Two of my fave, both patients coming out of anesthesia. Am I in hell? I responded, no you're not, you're just in recovery. That sounds like something the devil would say. Count backwards from 100 to prove it. Or the one who stroked my unshaved arm while I was trying to keep him from pulling at his IV, and muttered you'd make such a great carpet. ETA, yikes, you people really like hairy arm carpets. I had to go under for ear surgery once. I thought it'd be funny if I asked, does anyone need anything while I'm out? Right before I went under. I remember it kicking in way quicker than I thought it would, so I had to take my chance while I still had it. I yelled it but got a very confused look from everyone standing around me. Took a minute for me to realize I had accidentally yelled it while I was waking up from surgery. Oops. When I got put under for a colonoscopy, I didn't really fall asleep during the countdown. I just looked at the nurse a bit confused and said, I don't notice anything. And she smiled and squeezed my wrist and said, just give it a moment. As soon as she said that, I started fading out, and according to her the last thing I mumbled was, oh that's fucked, you magic witch. Kind of a reverse story. Going under to get my appendix removed, they begin doing the countdown as they inject a hefty dose of propofol and fentanyl to put me out. I count down to 1 and then ask, now what? The surgeon looks at me and says, you're still awake? Man. You are fat, you know that? I said, you're just saying that because you think I won't remember. He said, exactly. That's the last thing I remember. Nurse anesthetist here. When I was in school, I was getting ready to get a lady off to sleep and going through my regular spiel. I had the mask on her face and I said nice big breaths as I pushed propofol. Right before she went out she said, thanks, I just had 'em done. I looked at my preceptor, we looked at the circulator, and we all burst out laughing. I now say slow deep breaths instead. I love telling that story, that lady made all our days. My dad works with that stuff. Funniest thing he's heard is, hey Mr. Doctor? My ass itches and I'm too high to scratch. Edit, no he didn't help, the dude passed out right after. Last year they were knocking me out for a colonoscopy. It was the 3rd time I had been put under in a year. As such I had a curiosity. I had heard that when they knock you out you are still awake for a while, you just don't remember. So in the spirit of science I proposed a test with the anesthesiologist. When she started the medicine I would begin counting backward. When I would wake up we would compare what I remembered to what she observed. Plunger down 99, 98, 97 I remembered nothing more. Minutes later I awoke. The anesthesiologist espied me and came over quickly. What did you remember? She asked. 97, she began laughing. You got down to 7. My husband went under last year, and once he woke up, by our appearances he was as sober as a church mouse. Walking, asking serious questions of the doctor, apparently no issues at all. He remembered the procedure and described it to me in detail. I figured he just never went completely under. He was craving Chinese food, and nothing would do except for buffet, so we headed down and loaded up our first load of plates. Evidently, he actually woke up from the anesthesia at the buffet. As far as he remembers, he was put under and woke up in front of a plate of chicken teriyaki on a stick. When I was getting put out, I heard this cheesy jazz music in the operating room. I said, of course drive. R listens to this garbage. Doctor. R immediately appeared next to me looking none too thrilled. Then I went under. Edit to say THER pissed. Not the rapist. My wife is an anesthesiologist and her best line from a patient is, this is better than meth. When I was 9 and having jaw surgery, the surgeon was putting me under and said, say bye to your mommy. And apparently 9-year-old me thought that meant they were going to kill me. My mother says I gave her a look of absolute terror and then passed out. Thanks for the silver. I didn't die, so I consider it a net win. I am an anesthetist, so I hear pretty funny things daily, but one sticks out. After a routine surgery we are wheeling the patient out of the room and the stretcher gets caught on a wire, a common occurrence. Well, I look under and ask the nurse, what are we on? And the patient replies super loudly, I dunno but it's fucking awesome. Made me chuckle. I had a patient start a joke before surgery and finish it when they woke up without prompting. Edit, changed promoting to prompting, thanks swipe. My wife is an anesthesiologist. When she was in fellowship she had a patient say they saw dicks dripping off the ceiling, ketamine infusion. Not an anesthesiologist, but when I went in for my gallbladder surgery the nurse was an old coworker and I blurted out on the table, I knew you'd see me naked before I was out. Surgeon, not anesthesiologists. Had a super sweet 30Y, short woman go for a laparoscopic cholecystectomy. Little overweight, smoked cigarettes, otherwise uncomplicated history. It's like 8 p.m. On the table anesthesiologists gave her propofol and she just didn't fall asleep, kept looking around. Gave some more, eventually closed her eyes and as anesthesia was intubating, said something like, yeah, that was a lot, I'm a vet now, I've never put a horse to sleep before. Everyone chuckled. When she woke up at the end, was moving around a lot, no big deal. Started rolling around and reaching and grabbing at her lines, nasal, urinary catheter, the nurse, face mask, me, the poor med student who didn't even want to do surgery. I lean over to keep her in place and she starts trying to get out of bed. She was stronger than she looked. Again, little annoying but whatever, part of the process. 9:30 p.m. Now in recovery and I sign out the patient to the nursing recovery team. Patient is calm and fine. I go do computer stuff and get back to other patients. I get a call from recovery nurse, 10 p.m. Nurse yelling for help, won't tell me what's wrong, just that I need to be bedside immediately. I sprint to recovery thinking the patient is bleeding, heart stopped, blood pressure tanking, etc. No. Patient standing on the bed, stretcher screaming tongues, thrashing her arms around like a blow-up Carlot noodle man. Anesthesiologists is trying to grab her swinging IV line. I'm trying to talk her down but she's gone full Godzilla versus tiny townspeople. I grab her legs and lower her down. Anesthesia gives her some IV calm the fuck down atoll. She gets starry-eyed and we breath, life is good again. 10:30 p.m. I'm behind on work. Trying to catch up, getting hit with ed consults, ICU calling for help on a bleeding patient, haven't had dinner, my senior in the OR so I have no help. Phone rings, nurse says, the lap-chole patient is asking if she can go outside to smoke a cigarette. 1:45 a.m. Me, hell no. Is she even out of bed yet? Nurse, I just told her no, it's not safe, she told me to go fuck my goldfish. Can we give her some Nicorette gum or something? Me, wow, yeah, I'll order it. Only time I've ever ordered stat, then called the pharmacy for hand delivery of frickin' gum. Nicorette. She was a complete sweetheart on morning rounds. I don't know which was real. Mandatory edit, glad this made so many people chuckle. Thanks for the gold and silver. Gonna see if I can use that to buy a better autofill for my phone, edit for words. When I was put under for Achilles tendon surgery when I was 16, I asked the anesthesiologist how long he had to go to med school and he responded with, all day. Edit, holy freaking crap, this blew up. To answer the questions about the surgery, it was actually both legs at the same time. I had developed rather large bone spurs on the backs of both my heels playing hockey a ridiculous number of hours per week. It turned out that they developed because my Achilles tendons were too short, so the surgery was to cut away the bone spurs then snip some of the threads of the tendons to slide them, thus making the tendons longer. I had to relearn how to walk and I wasn't really the same for about 18 months or so, but the spurs never came back and I was able to continue playing hockey. Edit 2, stupid autocorrect. Edit 3, thank you for the award. It's my first one ever. Patient, when I was coming up from shoulder surgery on a pretty substantial dose of fentanyl, my wife told me that I looked at the head nurse and said, your boobs are spectacular, I want to see them. I have no memory of it, but apparently the wife was mortified, and the nurse thought it was hysterical. She also said it wasn't particularly unusual to get comments of that sort. Edit, wow, my first silver. I find it both hilarious and wholly appropriate that my first award and highest ranked comment is about busty nurses. In high school I had a reconstructive surgery on my knee as I tore my ACL and meniscus in a sports injury. After the surgery I woke up in post-op, which was a fairly large room with probably 6 to 7 other patients in beds waiting to become conscious again. I was lying there all groggy and confused when 2 nurses walked over pushing one of those carts with a computer on it. They stood over me and were typing into the computer when one nurse said to the other in a sort of frantic whisper, "We've got to plug this thing in or this one is going to die." Naturally, semi-conscious me thought that the thing was me and I started to incoherently yell for the nurses to unplug whatever they needed to in order to find an outlet to keep me alive. Turns out it was the battery on the laptop that was going to die. Apparently the death rate for an ACL repair is pretty low. Thanks for watching. What would be your response? Leave it in the comments and see what the others say. Please also like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Until next time, take care.